The Brampton real estate market is absolutely on fire. Today's video is going to break down the Brampton real estate market specifically. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down all the sales in Brampton. We're going to break down every housing type, which areas have the most activity, which areas you can get for below asking price on average, or which areas are so hot that you have to go over asking to acquire a house in this area. Let me know in the comment section down below where you're watching this video from. Are you from Brampton, and is this going to be affecting your personal residence when you see these numbers? Or are you watching from somewhere else in the Greater Toronto Area? My name is Mike Carpino. I cover Greater Toronto Area and Toronto Area real estate. If that is something of interest to you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. You're going to get 2 videos weekly from me breaking down the Toronto and Greater Toronto Area real estate market, as well as diving deeper into the numbers and what's happening in your neighborhood. If you want to book a one-on-one call with me, feel free to do that. It'll be the first link in the description box down below. We can set up a half-an-hour consultation and break down your questions for the real estate market. If you're looking to buy or sell, I've got you covered in the Greater Toronto Area. So today I'm going to pull up a map of Brampton. What we're going to do is show you the different areas that we're going to be covering and how many different communities there are within Brampton as a city. It is a extensively large city now. Brampton is on pace to be the second largest city behind Toronto if things keep going the way they're going. So let me show you all the different areas that are in Brampton before we dive into the housing types and the prices that a lot of the houses are selling for over the last 30 days. All right, so we've got the map up here of Brampton, and as you can see, there is just so many little areas in here that you wouldn't have even thought of. So we can zoom in on every area once we find an area that we're really focusing on for a specific amount of sales. But look how many different communities there are, and look at all the green space that's on the outskirts of Brampton here. So this Northwest Brampton and this Bram West section here, this is where a lot of the new development is already started, or you're going to notice that there are a lot of sales for land in that area. So it's like a pre-development phase. And then when you head out to the east end, so towards the 427 area here and Bramley East, Gore Road area, there is a lot more green space here, and this is where the other new developments are going. The edge of Brampton where it meets Caledon is already pushed all the way up on the north side, except for that Northwest Brampton corner where you're going to find a lot of new condos that are already under development. The Apple factory is just closed, so you're going to see new development that's going in there as well. And first off, we are going to dive into some of the detached properties that are moving in the Greater Toronto Area. So I've got a list here. There was 218 sales in the month of February in Brampton, and the way I've got them categorized here is by price. So you were actually able to, in one instance, find yourself getting a detached home in Brampton for $599,000. Let's keep in mind as I open it up here, this is going to be a small little home in Brampton that needs work to be done. But to get yourself into the detached freehold market, it may not have been a bad alternative for you. Secondarily here, if we are going to go back and look at this list, you are going to notice a lot of these homes are selling close to that asking price or over that asking price. So in this instance here, we've got something that was listed for $799 and it ended up selling for $880,000. We are starting to see this a lot more, especially over the last month, as the weather has gotten nicer here in Brampton and people have started to feel a little bit more confident that we've hit that bottom of the real estate market, and they think that the Bank of Canada is only going to have good news for us as we progress throughout the rest of the year. We're starting to see buyer confidence is really coming back to life. There are still some circumstances like this one right here that you're going to be able to get a deal. This one only sold for 90% of asking. It was listed at 1.1, sold for $985. In this case, it was 30 days on the market. So it was on there for a little bit of time, not a crazy amount of time on the market, but just to give you an idea, it wasn't a house that necessarily looked bad. It just was potentially overpriced from the beginning. So it took a little bit of time to see the sellers and the buyers kind of meet eye to eye on what the value of a home like this would actually be. But most importantly with detached homes, what I want to show you is some of the statistics here that are of importance. So what you're going to see in the chart beside me here is the statistics for listing price versus what they were originally listed at. So sometimes there is a adjustment in price, and that's all reflected here. And then the percentage of that price that the home was actually sold for. So if we're using the 200 homes here in Brampton, the average home lasted 21 days on market, which is not a bad amount of time for it to be on market, but the difference in price is what's the most important. The average home sold for 100% of asking price. This is really going to indicate to sellers that if you price your home correctly, you are going to get very close to the asking price of your home if you are in the detached category. Keeping in mind, we've seen it. I showed you the example where something sold for $100,000 less than asking, but you have to understand it's about pricing your home correctly for the market. And this 100% of asking price is skewed because you have some people listing their home several $100,000 under the actual market value and then getting $200,000 over asking. So it's a balance between the two, but we are seeing on average things go for 100% of asking price. More importantly, what we're going to see here in the next chart is going to show you the communities and the areas that are having the most transactions happen on the detached side of things. So as we're looking through the list here, you've got 11 transactions that happened out of Brampton East, Credit Valley with 12, Fletcher's Meadow with 20 transactions that were of the detached variety last month. Fletcher's West also with 13 transactions coming out of that area. Northwest Brampton had 12, and then to take home the big prize, Sandringham, Wellington area of Brampton had 25 detached transactions. So Fletcher's Meadow and the Wellington area. So let's pop up the map here and look at where these transactions are coming from. So Sandringham, Wellington area. Now if you want a major intersection, you're talking about directly near the hospital in Brampton. So you're talking about that Boulevard and just on the east side of Kennedy area. That is where we are seeing, at least in February, a massive amount of transactions. All right, so now let's pull up where Fletcher's Meadow is, and Fletcher's Meadow is just on the cusp of that Northwest Brampton corridor. So you're talking Boulevard and Chincoosy, Boulevard and McLaughlin area. This area has seen a lot of movement in the last month, as we're seeing on the detached side. There are quite a bit of detached homes in this area, but if you're looking for a detached home in Brampton, knowing that these two areas between Fletcher's Meadow and Sandringham, Wellington, you're going to get quite a few transactions that are actually happening. Before we go down to the next section, let me know in the comment section down below, where do you live in Brampton? Do you live in one of these areas that we've seen a lot of transactions, or are you on the other side of things where we have only 2 transactions in the Vales of Castlemore North, for example? I'd love to know where you're watching from in that comment section. And next, we are going to go take a look at what semi-detached transactions looked like over the last month. Semi-detached in Brampton, there's always actually quite a few transactions. There was 82, and we had the second most transactions to Toronto in Brampton on the semi-detached side of things. There was 82 transactions, but more importantly, as we want to know, is where's my barrier of entry? That would be at $750,000 in Brampton. Keeping in mind, we saw a detached home sell for $599 in Brampton, but it needed a lot of work and it was not in the most desirable area. And you're seeing the high end on price, the semi-detached getting all the way up to $1.250. So you really have a huge spread. You can start in that $750 range, or you can get yourself well over $1 million for a semi-detached. And once we spend that top tier price on a semi, you're gonna notice here, you're almost getting 2,500 to 3,000 square feet. So you're not getting a small home. Something like this would actually be larger than a lot of the detached homes that we're seeing. Nicely finished, obviously staged beautifully to make sure that you're gonna get the most bang for your buck, as something that we love to do for our clients. But this just kind of shows you where you could potentially be at on the semi-detached range, all the way down to that lower end price point here. So when we actually go through those numbers, 82 transactions, when we're looking at the overall statistics, your average home is selling for 103% of asking. What does that mean? It means that your average price is $931,000 for a semi, and it means that the average sale price is $959,000. So this is an area that if you're looking for a home, a semi-detached is clearly a hot commodity. There's a lot of competition here, and it's showing in the numbers. There's 103% of asking the homes are selling for. When we head over to the actual chart itself and try to figure out which areas are transacting the most, we don't have any double digits. We have actually a fairly good spread. But once again, what we're gonna see here is Fletcher's Meadow has 9 transactions, semi-detached variety. And Sandringham Wellington also has 9 transactions. You have Northwest Brampton that is just on the cusp of Fletcher's Meadow there, that has 8 transactions as well. And then you have Credit Valley, which is also on that west side of Brampton with another 8 transactions. In this case, you're getting a good spread. You have semi-detached that are all over Brampton, which is nice to see. But these areas have a lot of movement. These Sandringham, Wellington, Northwest Sandalwood area, and then Fletcher's Meadow is really going to be where a lot of these detached and semi-detached transactions that have happened. So let's see if the trend continues as we head into some of the townhouse product or the condo variety. The next category we're going to take a look at here, as mentioned, is the townhouse variety. Now, when we're looking at the February month, we're talking February 1st to February 29th. We had that leap year, so 29 days of sales. The lowest townhouse we were able to find out there without a fee, these are called freehold townhouses, was $719,000. Something like that can be a 3-bedroom, 1-washroom home, for example, like I'll pull up here on Barrington. So just a standard townhome with no fees. You do have a garage on this home, which is very nice to see, but at this price point, you're not going to be wowed. You're going to have some carpet, you're going to have some renovations that might need to be done to make the home a standard that you might be happy with, or it might be perfectly fine depending on what you're looking for. And on that high end, over $1 million, so $1,082,000 was the highest sale for a townhouse last month in the month of February. And when you're looking at something like that, just like the semis, you're going to get a lot more square footage. You're going to get a lot more of an impressive home. So you're going to get some of that hardwood. You're going to have, in this case, you know, some washrooms and kitchens that are renovated. This one not spectacular, but square footage wise, 2,500 to 3,000 square feet. This is what you're paying for when you're looking at the higher end of any of these spectrums. Now, there was only 50 transactions that were of the freehold townhouse variety, but here we go, 102% of asking is what they were selling for. So you're buying in Brampton, if it's a semi, if it's a detached, or if it's a townhouse, you are paying 100% of asking or more as of the last 30 days of sales. Let's take a peek and see if those two areas are still the most popular here. So when we're looking at sales, we don't have a lot going on in either category. What does that mean? It likely means those two areas are saturated with more detached and semi-detached homes, and they have been the most attractive for people. And we do have a huge outlier here in Northwest Brampton with 16 out of the 50 transactions. So Northwest Brampton, if we are going to pull it up on the map here, this Northwest Brampton area right here is actually where the GO train is. It's where there's new condo development. It's where there's a lot of new builds. And with new builds come a lot of smaller size homes. So whether it's a condo townhouse or a freehold townhouse, you're going to see a lot of that in these new development areas. And a lot of this green space on that northwest section of Brampton is going to end up being a small portion of detached and semis, and then a large portion of condos and townhouses and condo townhouses in there. So this is no surprise to me that we're seeing that many transactions out there, because it is more of a new build area. For a lot of people, you might be thinking, I don't want to get into a bidding war. I don't want to pay 100% of asking on a property. You're going to have to just understand that your agent will prep you what you're looking at, what the value actually is. And if you're looking at a home that's, let's say, $899,000, and your agent tells you all the sales are over $1 million, in that case, you save yourself the time. You don't go look at the property. You don't think it's going to sell for $899 if every other sale is over $1 million. All right, next we are going to actually take a peek at the condos. We're going to see what's happening in the condo area of Brampton. Is there a lot of sales in that northwest area? Where are the condos located? Let's take a peek. This is going to be two different sections, condo townhouse and condo apartments. So if you wanted to get into a condo apartment, the lowest sale last month was $440,000. The highest condo sale was $850,000. Obviously, larger condo, more space, higher price point, newer building. If you want to get into a condo townhouse, the lowest condo townhouse entry last month was $510,000, and the highest condo townhouse sold for shy of $1 million at $929,000. That was a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom bungalow. Now, when you're looking at these, they are very attractive for somebody who needs less stairs, maybe an older couple or somebody with kids, and they're really worried about the multi-levels. So people are willing to pay more for a home like that. Let's look at the real stats here. Let's take a peek and see what we're looking at. So finally, if you are a first-time home buyer, this category is really designed for you. You have 35 sales combined between the townhouses and the condo apartments, and you're seeing an average sale price that is 98% of asking. So $616,000 was your average listing price. $606,000 is what it would actually sell for. Now let's take a peek at where a lot of these transactions are coming from. You are going to have a pretty good spread, but Queen Street corridor, so that is your downtown Brampton, which we'll pull up just down here in the map. So your downtown Brampton section is where you are going to see the majority of the high rises. And because of that, obviously you have those 6 transactions. It's not blowing things out of the water. Brampton South also has 4 transactions, and so does the Goreway corridor, which is newer, edging on the Brampton and Vaughan border there, and there are some new development condos that have recently come out. So as we've broken down the Brampton areas and what's available in Brampton and what's selling really quickly, it leads me to the final discussion before I leave you guys here, and that is, if you are looking to buy a home in Brampton, you really need to figure out where the most movement is coming from, where the most affordable and most negotiable homes are going to be. And if there is no negotiation to be had, you really need to just make sure you're prepared going into looking at the houses. You don't want to look at houses that are going to be selling for 110% of asking price if you're expecting to get it for less than asking price. If you're looking for an agent who is going to help guide you through this whole process and make sure you're not wasting your time, my contact information is below. Feel free to book an appointment with me. That is the first link in the description as well. And thank you so much for watching this market update video for Brampton in the month of February 2024. I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.